Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today, a Las Vegas legend. David Da Alba has been on tour for his entire life, celebrating the lives of some of the world's greatest legends. The main one being Judy Garland. How are you, David?
Hello, Alex. It's so nice to meet you at last.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and here we are in your beautiful home, which is basically a museum to your heroes and legends, isn't it?
It's more like a shrine to Judy and other stars that I got to meet when I was working in San Francisco, the world famous Finocchio Club in San Francisco, which was a nightclub that was live with a musical trio, and the impersonators had to perform live. And that club lasted for 63 years, and I was there from the early 70s up to 1989 as the only Cuban ever hired to sing bilingually in the show. We did have two other excellent Cuban performers, but they were the classical and semi-classical dancers. But I was told by Mrs. Finocchio to sing in Spanish and English because they had allowed tour guides and from different countries, from South America and so on. So I fit the bill singing in Spanish, and of course I had to sing in English so the American folks would not get bored of just me singing in Spanish. And then later on in the show, after Boy Chick, that was my own international act, was introduced, I added later Liza when she became more known from the movie Cabaret, and of course Judy was put in, and I would do Judy once in a while, especially when there was a special tour from England or somebody else. And I even did a tribute to Edith Piaf, and one night I broke the arrangement, and of all things they had a French legion of people there, and I signed this beautiful can-can song and so on, and after the show, this gentleman with a little beret came backstage, an older gentleman, and he says, Mr. Da Alba, Miss Piaf would be smiling in heaven at your beautiful arrangement. And I said, may I ask who you are, sir? He says, I was one of Edith Piaf's pianists. So I said to Carol Watts, the MC, you cannot buy this to have, for me to break the French medley and to have a French crowd and then one of Miss Piaf's pianists. So this is one of the many wonderful experiences of famous people that came to see the show, and I got to meet them.
Did you always know that this was going to be your niche and the thing that you'd do for the rest of your life?
Well, I had two different jobs. I was very well-known hairdresser and an impersonator singing live. And I like both because I was very creative in my hair work. I did most of the wigs for the show at Finocchio's and many of the local entertainers. So I was very good at my hair craft. And my mom, when she retired from teaching, she helped me in my shop. And my shop got to be in many documentaries because they said, this is a mom and papa shop where the son does hair in the daytime and owns the salon, and at nighttime he's the bilingual singing co-starring act at Finocchio's. So because of that, I got to do a lot of shows in San Francisco, and even Tony Curtis filmed in my shop a sequence for a movie called Spies. And since that time, Tony Curtis and we kept in touch until maybe 6 months before he died, when he told me here in Las Vegas, he told the person in charge of the show, make sure you give my wife and I a seat to see David do Judy. But he never got to see it because he passed away. But so there were my two niches, hairdressing and it's a pity I didn't know Alex, but you weren't born. If you came around the 1970s, I looked so much prettier, and I was so thin. I looked like asparagus. I was so thin, but what can you do? 2017, it could be worse, and I have a birthday coming about 2 days from now. Most of the people I know are gone. So I said to my partner Paul, I'm like an Egyptian pyramid. I'm still standing. What everybody I know have died. And they keep keeping a hole in my heart because some of these people were so nice to me, not just my parents and family members, but co-workers from Finocchio's, some of my ladies at a beauty salon who enjoy my hair work, and they came to see me perform. So it's just very difficult for me to adjust. A funny story, I was in the mall recently, and there was a young salesman who says, "Sir, would you like to get this cellular phone? It's free." And I shocked him. I said, "Everybody I know is dead, sir, so why do I need a cellular phone? I cannot make phone calls to heaven, unfortunately." So he looked at me and he said, "But you can always make new friends." I said, "I can never replace the people I had for friends, and the ones I meet nowadays, I couldn't care the less for them to be my friend because we have nothing in common." I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm very sorry for myself too.
Yeah. Does it make you sad that so many of the legends on your wall have passed, and that day has gone, that level of glamour has gone, hasn't it?
Like Gloria Swanson, I used to do a Finocchio's Norma Desmond once in a while, and when I think of all the glamour and the elegance of the old days, at least I always say to God at night, I am thankful I was part of that era before those stars died, so I got to see them. I got to see Judy Garland in person. I got to see a lot of these famous people, Marlene Dietrich before they passed away, and so on. So at least I was very lucky to have that in my past, which some people will never have, and of course to have worked in a very famous nightclub. That to the present time, I go to eBay and I see postcards from the 70s and 80s I'm in, and I said, if Mr. and Mrs. Finocchio, they would crawl in their graves because they used to give these postcards for free to the tourists, and now these postcards are going for $10, $12, $15, and they are not even signed. But at least those postcards are still there, and I'm there on eBay. Can you imagine that after all these years?
Your legacy lives on.
It's a nice feeling, you know, to see, you know, like you take a seed and pour some water, and a little tree becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. But when I was young, I wasn't thinking about that, but I was planting a tree, and the tree grew. And then as I got older, and they told me, "David, you appear in this book." I said, "Really?" And that book, 7 books I appeared. I said, "You mean people were taking notes then in the 60s and 70s and 80s? Yeah, somebody was taking notes, and you appear in their books as part of the Judy Garland saga, or because you worked at Finocchio's." So I said, "Well, that's a nice feeling to be, be written about in a nice way."
How tough was it doing so many shows back to back? Because I mean, you've worked around the world.
At Finocchio, we used to do 4 shows a night. I remember from 9 o'clock, and the last show was at 1 o'clock. So by the time 2 o'clock the show was over, we were all exhausted because, you know, we had to get early to get made up and dressed, you know, and then go home and so on. So it was very difficult to do 4 shows a night, especially changing costumes and so on. But when you're young, you don't seem to notice. You do it, and you don't seem to get tired as easy. But we did get tired. So after that show, Carol Wallace, the MC, and we will go to Chinatown and relax, and some of the old Chinese waitresses, they would teach me Chinese words. I miss them, and they say, "Oh, the Carol Wallace and David Da Alba from Finocchio are here. Come here," and they would teach me. And I said to my partner Paul, "And these waitresses are dead now. So when I speak sometimes a little bit of Chinese, their images come to mind." I said, "My God, thank God for memories." But then memories can be sad too, because you bring a memory, which is a happy memory, but then when that person, you cannot hear that voice or see them. You know, if I had a power like some of these Tyler Henry, the medium, in which you can talk to the dead, it would be wonderful. I can talk to people I knew, and even if they came only for 2 minutes, I say, "Hi, David, we are fine, we miss you, but we'll see you someday. Don't worry, don't cry for us, we are happy." It will give me a lift. But all these people who are gone, I'm not able to connect with them. And when I was a child in Cuba, I used to see spirits all the time. And one of my cousins, who was very good at the medium stuff, she said, "We had to take this power from this boy because it's going to harm him." Because I was very young, and I would see spirits talking. Sometimes I would feel like I couldn't move they took away that so-called gift, and never again I have seen one spirit. I even said to my mom, why don't you just knock on my ear or go like this to me and say something? Nothing.
Wow.
No dreams. So it's strange. So maybe somebody listen to this here, maybe a medium, they'll say, oh yes, we have a message for David Da Alba. We like to give him a message from somebody I knew. Wouldn't be that nice? That
of all the people that came to see your show, who was the most memorable and precious?
Well, one of the things stands mostly is Robert Wagner, and then the Kentucky Fried Chicken, the General Sanders, the original. I was doing at that time an act, and I had this beautiful boa, and I said at that time they used to give you a free strawberry pie if you bought the chicken in San Francisco. And that day I went to the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they said, I'm sorry, we're out of strawberry pies, we'll give you a rain check. So at night, I didn't know the Kentucky Fried Chicken General was sitting in the audience. I said, I was so disappointed, ladies and gentlemen, do you like my feathers? This came from some chickens from the Kentucky Fried Chicken. I said, they said they had no strawberry pie. And then all of a sudden, an apparition, this man dressed in white, he stands up and he says, boy, if you ever come to Tennessee, I'll give you not one, but 2 or 3 strawberry pies. And he sat down. I said to Cara Watts, the MC, can you imagine I'm doing an act? People think this is part of the show. And the real Colonel Sanders was there. So when I see the fake Colonel Sanders photos nowadays, I said to myself, this is not a Colonel Sanders. These fake photos they use now on these stores, they sell his chicken. I said, I saw the real guy. So that sense, of course, wow. Tony Curtis was wonderful when he came to film at the shop. That was because he was there for at least an hour. So we talked in length. And one of the funny stories, which I told Tony years later when I met in San Francisco, and he remembered me. And I said, Tony, I hope you remember this year. Maybe an uncouth story to mention, but it's so funny, I can never forget. When you were filming at the salon, you said, may I use your restroom? And you went to that restroom. So I had a customer who passed away, Joan Garrison. She was very colorful and she was very theatrical. And when you came out, she said, I have to use the bathroom too. And she went, and when she came back, she says, now I can tell everybody I sat on the same John that Tony Curtis sat. And then you, Tony, I said to him, you said to my mom and to myself, I didn't know my Fanny was so famous. I said, I have never forgotten this because this was not scripted. And then another time, one of my customers, she said, I want to have a photo of you autograph. He said, I don't have any photos with me. She said, let me go to the house. She went to her house, which was half a block away, and she brought a picture of her wedding with her husband. And she says, Tony, will you autograph my wedding picture? He said, are you sure you want my name over your husband? Yes, it's fine. So he autographed, so some of these things that stood in my mind because they were out of this world, but we have so many people coming to Finocchio's like, Maggie Smith and Alexa Smith coming backstage. And then, of course, Lucille Ball and Liberace, and the list went on and on of people. When the Richard Chamberlain, which I thought was one of the most handsome men I ever met, and I got to see him when I was a teenager at in Chicago. He did a spot on the Perry Como Craft Music Hall, and he sang a song called Joy in the Morning in a movie he was with Yvette Mimieux called Joy in the Morning. I saw him, he was very young. So then maybe 20 years later, I am at Finocchio's, and then there's Richard Chamberlain, and I said, I saw you perform in what I just told you now, and I said, and now you're here and I'm singing for you. Another time, which I never forget, was I was singing Arrivederci Roma. Sergio Franchi, he was an Italian singer. He was seated in front, so I was singing Arrivederci Roma, goodbye, adios, au revoir. Quiero caminar las mismas calles, quiero suspirar las mismas penas, volver a besar los mismos labios, ay de mí. And I sang the song, and when I got through, he said, "You the singer that this song are better than I do. Listen, Mr. Da Alba, why don't you come for free to come to see my show at the Circle Star Theater?" I said to myself, my goodness, I sing better the song Arrivederci Roma than the Italian guy who sings Arrivederci Roma. So some of the things are so nice to keep in your heart because it happened, and unfortunately there's no video or audio of that moment, so I can play it for people because that'll be you know, something good for an archival thing to play, but in my memory is very vivid, so I try to illustrate it through talking like this, so somebody else who may remember Sergio Franchi may say, "Oh yes," and then Edith Piaf, you know, and people like that. Of course, when I got to meet Judy, that's a long story, finally, and she came out, and my mom was in front of me, and Judy was, and she says, "Yes." I said, "Judy, I loved your performance." This was a year before she passed away in Chicago. She said, "Did you like me? Did you like my song?" I said, "Of course." And then she said, "Who is this lovely lady?" I said, "This is my mom, Tila." And then she looked like little Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and she said, "Oh, how I wish I had a mother like you have." If everybody knows the story, Judy didn't get along with her mother, and I did get along with mine. So she was very impressed. So then my mother said, "Would you kiss my son? He adores you." So she grabbed it, she kissed me, and I said, "Judy, I do impersonations of you." "Really? Do you like me that much?" I said, "Of course." I said, "I'm doing a show tomorrow." I said, "Oh, honey, I would love to see you, but I have to go on tour. Otherwise, I would really love to catch you." And then she said one more word to me, and then she kept going, and then she got into the car with Joey and Lorna, and a few months later, she passed away. So in my shows, I mentioned, it's a long story, longer, how I got to meet Judy in person finally, although I got to see her twice before when she was in Chicago, and how I got to be introduced to her by two ladies who loved her, and I was just a young kid from Cuba, and they took me to their home to play Carnegie Hall album, and that's how I got introduced to Judy. But and then my Judy Garland act was born from 2 songs to 3 songs, and eventually to a complete concert, which is about an hour and a half long. I talk about some of the people in the fan club from England and this country that were part of her saga. Some of the stories about Marlene Dietrich and the record that when Judy used to say that Marlene Dietrich came to a party in Paris, and it was just a few of us with Noel Coward sitting there, and Jeanette Espanier and her husband. Jeanette Espanier was a fashion designer, and Mark Heron. And then comes in Marlene, who has been doing a tour of the provinces in Germany, and she came with a big record, bigger than a 12-inch, and she said to us, "Would anybody like to hear my record?" And we said, "Sure, we'd like to hear your record." Of course. So we're going to say, "No, we don't like to hear your record." "Of course we want to hear your record." So Marlena put the record on, and it was just applause. There was no music. There was no orchestra. There's not even one note of music. And the applause would vary. And she said, "That's Frankfurt. This is Berlin." But no music. So Noel Coward whispered in my ear, "I hope there isn't another side." And there was. So I keep telling the story about Judy and Marlena, which is very funny. I got to see Marlena, of course, in San Francisco perform before she passed away at the Circle Star Theater. So these things keep me going. Of course, having Alex finally here, a living legend himself, while I'm alive, one day before my birthday, there's a present from heaven that I will never be able to have again, because who knows, next time you come here, I won't be around, or maybe you won't come here for many years.
Oh,
but
stop it.
Yeah, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. But at least it's nice to have this moment. I always say to people, if I could just freeze time and the people we love and play that time on a movie, wouldn't it be nice to play a movie and just go into the film inside, like in the Twilight Zone, and go into the film, and then come out of the film? So, you know, It doesn't happen.
What wonderful memories. They can't take those away from you.
No, the memories can't take away.
And then we look at the future. I mean, you're still performing and doing shows.
Yeah, I'm still performing after all this year. Imagine that, singing. I'm walking in hills, which is that is once you're past 40. But I'm still performing, and the voice is there. 2 octaves lower than before, but still I can sing live. And so it's fun. Most of the fans I had have passed away, but there's new ones that come in, and some that I have developed who come to see me all the time. Now my next show, I hope to do in about 2 months from now, is a retrospective interview about my life, in which somebody will ask me questions on the stage, and I'll talk about many stories I cannot tell you now because we don't have that time on this film, and then play playbacks of me at Finocchio through films, and talk about my mom, talk about my spiritual when I was a little boy, looking at the spirits. Then later on, in my later life, I got to even see a UFO, which I knew this life from other planets. But I was in the 90s coming with my mom and my partner Paul from Phoenix, going to Laughlin, Nevada at 4 o'clock in the morning, driving our Cadillac, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning playing Cuban music. And then all of a sudden, I see in the sky this gigantic saucer shape, like in the movie Encounters of the Third Kind, and I see this gigantic thing with lights. I was suspended like this, not even maybe less than 1 minute, and the thing disappeared into nowhere land. But I got to see something that I know it wasn't a naval ship from this country, from another country. So I said to myself, wouldn't it be nice when I go to the other side, if I can get to meet some of the other beings from other planets? Hopefully they're more advanced than we are, and less nasty, and we can learn from them about medicine and maybe other things that we have no idea. So, but this is part of, lessons I learned in my life.
Wonderful. And what do you feel about other female impersonators these days? Are they as good? Do they care as much?
Well, nowadays everybody seems to like to lip sync. So I said to myself, it's so much easier to lip sync because we used to pay so much money in arrangements. In those days were like $170 for 4 pieces, and we had to do 4 shows a night. I could have bought a record for $10 of Judy and sing over the pantomime or lip sync to Over the Rainbow, whatever, over and over and over and over. And if I had a call, like I used to have sometimes, and I had to sing with a call, I would just open my mouth. So I said I would have saved so much money. But on the other hand, I wouldn't have felt good because at least I produced a sound. I was not miming to somebody else. So for some kids nowadays who take for granted people like Danny LaRue and some of us at Finocchio who perform live, they think lip syncing is the in thing. But to me, I'm sort of disappointed because I noticed that in general in show business there's a lot of vulgarity nowadays. When you do a striptease like Gypsy Rose Lee, she just hinted with a leg. You don't do a striptease on a pole. You hint things. The elegance of a Susan Hayward, the elegance of an Ava Gardner, those actresses that were sexy but they were elegant. Even Marilyn trying to be sexy, she was never vulgar. While nowadays a lot of the shows, they depend on shock value to get attention, because if you do something too clean, then, oh, he's so corny. You have to do things to shock people. And I thought, well, it's shocking enough to do female impersonation, but if you do it with elegance, as a real woman would do, then nobody gets offended, because we used to have old ladies from different religions and nobody got offended because the show was never vulgar, or it was just pretty songs that we sang or impersonations of movie stars. But like I said, I'm very disappointed in general in show business nowadays, because once you had the best, Judy, Frank and all those people, and you've seen them with just a follow spot and a microphone, and that talent was there. Now you need smoke machines, platforms that come, and bubbles machine and guns in the air making noises, because when really the talent is not there, so they have to do all kinds of things to create furor. Now people in my days, they used to sit and applaud. Now they're like this, if I was performing and I see people moving their heads, I would get so dizzy, I probably would fall down. We used to sit down. I never forget Marlena Dietrich in her show. There were two hippies that were trying to be the cynosure, making gestures like this and like that. And she, in between her act, she says, "Darling, the show is here, not down there." And these kids were not making as much confusion as nowadays with the cellular phones, but she got very upset because they were trying to upstage her. So I said, you know, it's a completely different world. So I don't fit in anymore when I see things the way they're going, but what can I do? You have to keep going on and just do the best I can. And I attract people who enjoy my shows because I bring back to them memories of Judy, if they saw her in person, and if they're younger, like in their 30s or 40s, they say, "Oh, we know about Judy, but I didn't know what you say about her, about this, about that." So I'm more like a musical teacher, teaching about the songs of yesteryear and about the movie stars and what they did and so on. So my job is not just an impersonator singing, but more of a musical teacher, keeping history alive, real history. And then I throw in my anecdotes of meeting such people. So it's not just history written in books, but my own history added to it. So it becomes more interesting, more colorful, and with, I hope, with a little bit of essence. So there's essence about me. They used to introduce me at Finocchio, the warm and charming personality of David Da Alba. And I always try to keep that, the warmth and the charm together, to make me be the best I can with the abilities I was given.
Well, you're a legend and a star from a better generation, and we thank you for your talent and your time, and we wish you all the best. And thank you for having me in your home today. I appreciate it.
God bless.